Imagine, 1974, a strange ship is standing in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Officially, it is a ship for mining manganese ores from the ocean floor. In reality, it is the most expensive and senseless spy operation in the history of the CIA, worth over $800 million in today's money. And the target of this operation was located at a depth of 5 kilometers under the water. 1968. The Soviet submarine K-129, armed with nuclear torpedoes, sets off on a routine patrol in the Pacific Ocean. But something goes wrong. Communication with the boat is lost. The USSR sends a rescue flotilla, searches for months, and finds nothing. The boat with a crew of 98 sailors simply disappears. The Soviet fleet surrenders and stops the search. But the Americans do not give up. They have something that the USSR does not have: a network of underwater sonar sensors, SOSUS, designed to track enemy submarines. Analyzing the recordings, the U.S. Navy calculates the approximate location of the K-129's death at a depth of almost 5 kilometers, which at that time was considered technically impossible to raise. The CIA sees this as a unique opportunity. The sunken boat may contain nuclear warheads, encryption machines, and codes, priceless intelligence on the Soviet nuclear program. A plan codenamed Project Azorian is born. The problem is that no technology in the world at that time could lift an object weighing 1,750 tons from a depth of 5 kilometers. The CIA turns to eccentric billionaire Howard Hughes. He agrees to become a cover for the operation. A special vessel, the Glomar Explorer, is being built, officially Hughes's private ship for mining rare metals from the ocean floor. In fact, it is the most complex engineering structure of its time, with a huge hydraulic grab called the Clementine, capable of gripping the hull of a submarine and lifting it through a special hatch in the bottom of the ship. Construction has been going on for almost 2 years in complete secrecy. The shipyard workers don't even know the true purpose of the project. The cost is rising to hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's all being financed secretly, bypassing the normal congressional budget procedures. In the summer of 1974, the Glomar Explorer finally enters the Pacific Ocean and arrives precisely in the area where the K-129 sank. Soviet ships watch the American ship from afar, believing the operation to be just a bizarre commercial project by a billionaire. No one suspects the truth. The riskiest part of the operation begins. Clementine slowly descends to a depth of almost 5 kilometers, more than any technology has ever lifted from such a depth before. The gripper carefully wraps around the submarine's hull. The ascent begins. The operation continues for several days under the eyes of observers, and suddenly disaster strikes. Part of the grip breaks under the weight of the hull. 2/3 of the submarine breaks off and falls back to the ocean floor, lost forever. Only the bow part of the boat is raised to the surface, about 1/3 of the original target. Inside, the crew finds the bodies of several Soviet sailors, some of the weaponry, but not the main target: the encryption codes and most of the nuclear warheads, which remained at the bottom along with the sunken stern. The bodies of the fallen Soviet sailors are buried at sea with full military honors. The Americans film the ceremony on video. This will become one of the symbolic gestures of the Cold War, shown later even to the Soviet side. The operation is formally considered a partial failure. The main objective was not achieved, but the CIA plans to return for the rest of the boat in a second operation. And then there's an unexpected twist. In February 1975, robbers break into Howard Hughes' Los Angeles office and steal documents, including Project Azorian. Journalist Jack Anderson learns of this, and despite CIA requests to keep quiet, publishes the story. A scandal erupts in the press. The USSR learns the truth about the operation. The second phase of the recovery of the remaining boat becomes impossible. The Soviet fleet is now vigilantly guarding the area. The CIA is forced to abandon the operation forever. The story also becomes legendary for one thing. When journalists began demanding that the CIA declassified documents under the Freedom of Information Act, the agency responded with a phrase that has become iconic in U.S. legal circles: they can neither confirm nor deny the existence of such documents. This response has become so embedded in culture that it has its own name in American law. Only in 2010, 36 years later, did the CIA partially declassify the details of the operation. It turned out that even despite the partial failure, the information obtained, wreckage, codes, and technology of Soviet submarines, still gave the United States valuable intelligence on the capabilities of the USSR. Project Azorian remains one of the most ambitious and costly failure successes in the history of intelligence. It is a story of how the line between genius and madness can be very thin, and how even a superpower with unlimited resources can lose to simple chance 5 kilometers underwater.